class has in no way been a persecution for me. It has, however, been a front row.
All right. After watching this creator's video, I had to come on and give my perspective because I am a professional when it comes to experiencing and alchemizing white rage. So just to give a little background on myself, I am Adama Sesay, and I am the author of Black Moon Lilith Rising and the Black Moon Lilith Cosmic Alchemy Oracle. You can see it a little closer. Yes, come see, come see. Let's get a little peeksies. Come see. And I actually do have a small section in my book dedicated to discussing my experience as a Black Moon Lilith Rising. This is someone that I've coined to be have Black Moon Lilith conjunct their ascendant, like someone like Marilyn Monroe, or that they have Black Moon Lilith in their first house, and that's someone like me. And I have Black Moon Lilith in Leo, actually just like Marilyn Monroe. And I detail how I was born in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those of you who don't know what that means. And it was a very diverse area. And I was there until around, say, the age of 10, in which my mother and my father got divorced, and my mother and I moved to upstate New York, where my mother's from. And I go from being one of a plethora of different types of ethnicities, including Black and African and everybody. It was a melting pot in my school, to being one of five when I got to high school. And of course, there were other people of color, but there's probably like 10 or 15 of us. And some of them were of Chinese descent, Indian, and there was probably still only about a handful of Black people. And of course, you naturally stick out and you are the center of attention, but it's not fun. It's not fun, Leo. Black Moon Lilith in Leo means you are quite demonized or feel like the black sheep and just feel like you never fit in. And that's something that I experienced growing up in that majority white town and majority white space. And of course, I still have friends, and I made friendships that were like my brother or my sister at that school, and I made the best of it. But that memory and that lens always has stuck with me. So I just wanted to give you a little background to where I'm coming from in my lens, because I am a professional when it comes to experiencing white rage or microaggressions in certain spaces. And I talk about this briefly in the book. So if you want to learn more about my past and learn more about those stories, check this out. And what's really interesting is my family had been living, my mother's from that town. My aunt went to the high school. My mother went through school there. My grandmother was a teacher there, the first Black one, might I add. They've been living there since around the 50s and 60s. And the stories that I can't get into it right now. Get the book. I don't get too much into detail because it's other people's lives, but I do talk about it a bit in the book. But that's the lens that I'm coming from, and I of course have a plethora of stories. So I'm not going to talk about the past in this book or in this story time, but I just wanted to give you some foundation on where I'm coming from. Like, I'm not just talking about this without any sort of experience with it. So fast forward to like quite literally last week. Today, 2023, December, I went to Art Basel here in Miami, and it was a lot of fun, just so inspiring. Met some fantastic artists, even saw some mystical artists, tarot-based artists, sacred geometry. It was so cool. But there were moments of white rage during this event that were absolutely shocking to me, that in such a diverse event as well, everybody, like, all different types of people were there, that this is still going on, you know? And so my partner and I, he's a white man, okay? So let's give background on that. We went to a members club that we are actually both a member of. And I won't mention the club because this has nothing to do with them. But we went to a event that basically was like a pre-Art Basel event. So if you are a collector or you want to know how to navigate the event, this was my first Art Basel. Actually, it was both of ours. And my partner has been embedded in the arts, is an artist himself. But, we just had never been to the fair. So we wanted to really know some background on it. So we went to this event. It was really interesting. And after the event, it was time to mix and mingle. So we go and grab some beverages, and we're just kind of standing there. And we started talking to, I would say she was an older white woman, and my partner is older than me as well. And she seemed really friendly, so we started talking to her, like, what do you do? All of that. And basically then she goes to ask, are you two together? And my partner at this point of the conversation had drifted off and was talking to someone else, and I was still talking to this older white woman. And she looked probably about in her 50s or 60s. And she's like, are you two together? And I was like, what? I'm like, huh? And she's like, well, I was just wondering, are you two together? Because you don't look like you'd be together. And I was like, I was trying to calculate in my brain, like, why is this person asking me this? And I was like, yes, I actually know him quite well. And we've been together for about a few years at this point. I know him quite well. She's like, oh, well, you don't look like you'd be together. And I'm knuck if you buck. Like, I will conflict, but I also do it if it's worth it. And I just was like, this isn't worth it. And I want to actually hear herself climb herself out of this hole. And then she was like, oh, well, I thought this was like, you guys were like a work thing, or he's like your manager or something like that. And I'm just like, so that's when in my head, I'm like, it is time to leave. So I wrap up the conversation, but her face when I said we were together, the rage, and it was like jealousy mixed with, why is she with someone, my counterpart or someone I should be with? And I was like, that's on you, sis. But this is a typical rage of someone who, if you are if you are in a relationship they believe that you shouldn't have access to, or you're with someone that they believe you shouldn't have access to, or you're doing something that they believe you shouldn't have access to, it's a problem. And it'll be a microaggression. They won't come out right out typically and say it, but you can see it on their face. And the type of questions that are being asked that are just not appropriate, you can see it. And what's really interesting is I'm actually going through my Black Moon Lilith return, which I talk about in the book. This happens every 9 years when you look at the mean calculation of Black Moon Lilith, the average of the oscillation of the lunar apogee. When you look at that every 9 years, you can face some of the same themes and really revisit those themes around your Black Moon Lilith in Leo. And it was like a full circle moment. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm back in high school, or back trying to deal with this microaggression of this white woman who is shocked that I am with someone of the same skin color as her. It was really confusing. So it didn't stop there. So I was like subtly, going to grab my boyfriend. I was like, oh, I'm really hungry. Like, let's leave. And her friend, actually, she's like, let me introduce you to my friend. And I'm like, oh no, but we're nice. So we go and say hi to the friend. And the friend is chatting, and she was like, I told her what I did. She was talking about what she did. I told her what I did. And she was like, oh, is he your manager? Like, pointing at my boyfriend. And I was like, is he your publisher? I was like, no, this is my partner. Like, I was just like, I think she probably saw my face, because I was like, at that point, I couldn't control my face. I'm a Cancer rising at that late degree. I'm like, and so then I'm like, let's go. So we finally left. But there were other things that actually had happened at Art Week in Art Basel along the similar vein, but the white rage is real, and it's something that you have to deal with probably for the rest of your life until the world takes a look at their ingrained racism. But yeah, it was my Black Moon Lilith return, and Black Moon Lilith is coming in hot. And even though Black Moon Lilith mean calculation is in Virgo, we are still experiencing the tail end of Black Moon Lilith in Leo, because it's still in Leo in the true calculation. So you can learn more about Black Moon Lilith by checking out my book and deck. Thanks for listening.